Let's fucking go.
Hello everybody, welcome to the Comic Gamer Movie Show. My name is Deshaun, and today I'm here to talk and tell you guys why not why, but the problems with an MCU soft reboot. Now, right off the bat, up top, I will tell you this. I am not opposed to an MCU reboot. I'm not opposed to an MCU reboot. All projects, just like in the comics and just like different things, all projects are up to be rebooted and to be shifted and to be changed. Everything is up to that. You know, no matter what the IP is, especially an IP like the MCU, it lends itself to be rebooted, to have a new interpretation, to have a new show, to have a new head and a showrunner and identity. Like comics, DC, Marvel, they all lend themselves to that. And for a long time, I always knew in my heart, I was like, okay, Marvel, like the version of the MCU I like, is eventually going to get rebooted and become something else, and I don't know how things are going to be. One day Kevin Feige will go away, one day Kevin Feige will step down, someone else will take over. All these different things, I always thought it would happen. But my problem is the soft reboot, because by all reports, basically all over the place, is that the MCU is looking to do a soft reboot, which is essentially basically keep most of the aspects of the MCU, but like recast Captain America, Black Widow, recast the characters who have passed, recast characters who they think they can use, bring in figure out a way to get the Fantastic Four and the X-Men in, and essentially like I say, it's gonna be a soft reboot, but that kind of comes with a lot of problems. And problem number one against the soft reboot in the MCU, that's just this problem that's going to be up the top, is if they plan on doing it when everyone thinks they're going to do it, which is in Secret Wars, at the end of Secret Wars, they'll be like, oh, it's a new world, it's a soft reboot, and they're going to just recast a Captain America, a new Tony Stark, a new Steve Rogers, a new Natasha, like all that shit, just recast basically all the dead characters with new characters. If they're going to do it, it's going to be, depending on how they do it, it could be too soon. Because you gotta imagine, we would have just come off of seeing Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man again. We would have just come off of seeing probably Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow again. We have just come off probably seeing Chris Evans come back to play Captain America again. And so we'd be coming off of these actors who we know in these iconic roles playing these characters, and to just introduce a new version of these characters and just tell the audience, here, this is your version of Tony Stark. Go. Like, I just don't know if that, I just think that's too soon, because like I said, in my brain, if the MCU is ever going to reboot, you full reboot. You know what I mean? You pull a Star Wars / George Lucas, you give it like 5 or 10 years, wait, let the anticipation for it simmer, and then you come out, you get a new show, you get a new head, all that shit, and it's like, this is the new Marvel Cinematic Universe. You even come up with, you get new marketing, you get new logo, you go full throttle to let everyone know that this is not the MCU, this is a different thing, it's another Marvel Universe, but it's going to be run differently, it's going to look differently, we're going to have different movies, we're going to have different Iron Mans, like the whole 9 yards, you full throttle reboot. But like I said, the description of this is like, they're going to just bring back the characters who they think are popular, push them out there and just have it happen like we spoke, like the audience didn't just, like the audiences are stupid and they didn't just see these characters 5 seconds ago, and you just recast and be like, oh, it's a new character, here we go. It's like, whoa, like, because they're gonna reference Iron Man's death. Steve Rogers is probably old man Steve is probably gonna play a factor in the movie and die. So it's like, for you to just introduce a new character, it might be a little too soon to do that just immediately after reminding the audiences about these characters. So that's one. It may be a little soon to just reboot in general. You got to give that time for the audience to like sit there and simmer on it before you bring them back, because I just think that might be just too soon. It might be just too soon. But that kind of leads into the other thing that's going to be a problem, which is audience confusion. Like, one of the big factors in why people think that the MCU should do a reboot or a soft reboot is the idea that there's so much going on, there's so much happening that the audiences are confused. Now let me ask you this. What part of bringing on new actors in the same continuity and world, even though we just saw these actors die on screen in continuity, makes any sense? It would just be confused, be like, what's happening? And you have to understand, us hardcores, us fans who watch this shit all the time, us fans who know Marvel lore, who, read all this shit, who watch a lot of movies and all these different things, who knows what's going on, us kind of fans, we would get it. We would be cool. Oh, my bad. We would be cool. We would be cool. We would be understandable. Like, we would just be like, okay, we get what's happening here. But most audiences would be fucking confused when Tom Holland's Spider-Man just talking to some random dude who's like, hey, Tony. And he's like, who the fuck? That's not Tony Stark. That's fucking, take your pick. Who the fuck? That's Steve Rogers? Like, what the hell? And that kind of leads into something else other than audience confusion of who these people are, because these aren't the people we grew up, have, gone and to become iconic characters in these roles. Like, it would confuse the shit out of the audience just right off the bat. And the reason it would confuse the audience, just to get that, make this clear, is the soft reboot aspect. If it was a full stop reboot, it wouldn't confuse the audience, because the audience would be like, okay, this is a completely new thing. But if you're gonna have characters from the original MCU interacting with these new versions of these characters, and it's just gonna be like, we're gonna just go on. Like, I just don't like that. It's gonna confuse the audience. It's gonna make the audience be like, I have no clue what's going on. I don't know what's happening. What's going on? And that kind of leads to the legacy characters. Like, I know some people like to bash Phase 4 and 5, but they introduced a lot of fun legacy characters. I mean, from Ms. Marvel to Kate Bishop's Hawkeye to Shang-Chi, Agatha. I mean, the list goes on and on. Mobius, like Makari, Druid. Like, there's so many characters, new characters they introduced in stories that are going on from the other MCU. Like, by all reports, Tom Holland is doing a new trilogy. So, like, is he supposed to just pretend like this new Tony Stark is all that history he had with Tony Stark is just gone? Like, we got Captain America Brave New World coming out. Now, the ticket sales for that are doing decent. It seems like it's probably going to make somewhere in about the 700 ballpark at its highest, maybe in the 800s. So it's not going to be one of the highest grossing MCU films of all time, but they officially made him Captain America. Sam Wilson is Captain America. They put their foot down on that. Falcon and the Winter Soldier was such a fun show. So, like, so if that movie's successful, if that movie comes out and it's awesome and it's successful, you're telling me that, like, in the reboot world, we're just gonna pretend like that never happened? We're just gonna be like, okay, now we got this new Steve Rogers, he's gonna be Captain America again, we're gonna just pretend like all this shit didn't happen. It's the same thing with the Black Panther stuff. Like, but just like the Black Panther video I made, I hope they don't just do it like that. I hope they don't just introduce a Black Panther and just be like, everything just doesn't matter. All these deaths, all the stories, everything we've watched up to this point it doesn't matter. But the most important thing too about this whole soft reboot conversation is that I find it to be completely unnecessary. In my personal opinion, the MCU has sort of missed the boat. They missed the boat. Because the thing is, the problem with phases 4 and 5 aren't that audiences because to soft reboot is the idea that they want to bring they think that the reason that the audience isn't watching is because of Captain America, Iron Man, all these characters not being there. Which, sure, I'm sure it took a dent to it, but that's not it. The reason that things have gone away, well, there's a multitude of reasons. I've talked about this many times before, between COVID and Bob number 2. Like, there was just a lot of things outside of the MCU. But the things in the MCU's control, for the most part, that went south is the MCU overestimated people, how much content they could give to people. And the thing that happened is, they put so much content out without a roadmap, without a true roadmap. Like, people had gotten used to the regular MCU formula, which is they release like 2 or 3 movies a year. There's a clear through line. Like, the individual movie was good, was decent to good to great. There was a clear post-credit through line. We knew exactly where it was going. We knew where it was heading. Like, we all can, like, push the box in our brains. We didn't have to wait too much longer to see another character again. You know what I mean? Like, that's how we, the audience, because, like, you saw Doctor Strange, because Doctor Strange came out in 2016. Doctor Strange would reappear again in 2018. Same with Spider-Man. He showed up in 2016. He kept 2 movies. He's reappeared. But with so much content, it's already been pointed out. Like, Shang-Chi 2 is probably still going to happen, but it'll be almost 6 years since Shang-Chi 1 came out. Because they have so many moving pieces with so many shows and animation and the movies. And at a certain point, they're going to pump out like 4 movies and like 5 shows. They overestimated how much content they could give people. It also didn't help that COVID was happening, so they had to shift so much shit they wanted to do. There's so much things they couldn't do, and there's so much time they couldn't spend on things, so there's so many projects happening, which means the CGI got worse. They overestimated how much people could take. They made a mistake. They overdrived it. They overestimated how many people could take, and they overestimated they overestimated people's desire to see different creative type of projects. Like, as it turns out, all that shit people were talking about during phases 1, 2, and 3 about, oh, the MCU should do more isolated projects, and oh, the MCU should do more creative projects with their IPs instead of the same superhero stuff. As it turns out, people didn't actually want that, as it turns out. So they misfired. They misfired. It didn't go as planned. Things didn't work out. That is fine. What you do is, which is what I thought they're going to do, is you finish out this saga, because you're already on the road, you're already full steam ahead, finish it out, end it with Secret Wars, and then just move on. Do the same thing. Maybe take a year off, a year or 2 off, and then come back with the Mutant Saga. Or maybe take a year off like they did, come back with the Mutant Saga. But it seems so reactionary to essentially, because if they're going to do the soft reboot, it is essentially to erase things that they don't want people to erase, certain aspects of 4 and 5, which is something that Marvel never did before. The MCU, one of the things I've always loved about the MCU, it's one of the things that I've always said, like, this really just helps out having a cinematic universe, is when shit don't work out, you don't have to really acknowledge it didn't work out. You could just retroactively make it work out. And I always thought, with all the misfires, with all the mistakes, with so many things they did wrong in phases 4 and 5, that they would just simply keep moving forward, and eventually, and they would make those things that didn't work kind of irrelevant until they want them to be again. But a soft reboot would be such a reactionary thing. It would be such an overreaction to the things that are going on right now. I think you just go forward, you figure out how to make things work, and if you're doing this just to get the Fantastic Four and the X-Men in here, once again, I've made videos about how the Fantastic Four could be introduced. I've made videos about how the X-Men could be introduced. Doing this soft reboot is it just seems a bit reactionary, it seems a bit over the top, and it just seems a bit unnecessary. But that's my take on the whole MCU soft reboot. What do you guys think? Do you think a soft reboot is the cure-all of all things? Because I don't think it will be. I don't think, like, just introducing some new guy and being like, this is Steve Rogers, here's a Captain America movie, everyone's just gonna be like, oh, yes, now everything's all is great again. Like, I don't think that's because that was never the problem with the movies to begin with. But anyways, thank you guys for joining the Comic Guy Movie Show. Please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.